skepticism as a view is hostile to the talk of meanings. It's hostile to the idea that we know what something means. And Kripke gives this very comic example. You haven't added up all the infinite sums you could do, so maybe could be that after a time addition is just wrong. And if you move that over to some axiomatic setting, you can make similar kinds of objections. It kind of looks rather fanciful, and I think, I don't know, considerable number of philosophers would like to prove somehow that skepticism was wrong. And the skeptics say, well, you don't need to, because actually it's quite a harmless view. But instead of assuming that you know quite so much about what things mean, why don't we just agree that what we're doing is talking to each other about the world, and we want to talk in a consistent way to each other, in a way that is supported by the best evidence we can find. And if we have to revise the way we talk, well, we revise the way we talk. And it doesn't mean that you can't talk with certainty in the opinion of Wittgenstein. It doesn't mean that you're going, you're allowed to go, oh, I don't know why you believe that, every time somebody says something. You can just get on and do things. This is kind of conventional view, it seems to me, from Wittgenstein, that we elevate certain statements to a certain role in our discourse. And that role in that discourse, at least in the way Poincaré would take it, is to say that you don't argue with that. You don't argue with the inverse square law of gravity in this particular domain, or with whatever particular system of ideas have determined the mathematical form of your theory, unless you really, really have to. And of course, in any elaborate argument, especially in physics, I believe to this day, you don't have the guarantee that your physical system is actually consistent. We are exploring ideas in physics, we hope they work, we find problems, we deal with it. Okay? And this is Wittgenstein's advice that, that's the best you're going to get, right? If you're looking for consistency in these very elaborate arguments, you may never get it, and it may not matter because it hasn't held us back yet. We've always been able to repair any damage we encountered. Poincaré was taken to be a skeptic in his time. He was accused of this by people in exactly those words, and this is one of his responses. Of course we accept the testimony of experts, and we rely on our ability to communicate with each other, and without the ability to communicate, we can't say that we are being objective. So remember that mathematics provides the language for physicists, okay? So what I see here, curiously, I think the influence on Wittgenstein here comes really from people like Hem and Weil, but I'm more interested in Poincaré anyway. What I see here is what Wittgenstein enthusiasts call a language game. You have a set of rules for communicating, and those are the rules of the game. That's how we communicate. So we have decided that this physical phenomenon is determined by a certain Lie group. Well, you can't break that rule halfway through. So what validates your arguments is that you can persuade other people of them. They can listen to you. They can criticize you. The dialogue goes backwards and forwards in a satisfactory way. And that's really maybe all you can do. So famously, for example, in the dispute with Edouard Leroy over the rotation of the Earth, when he was accused of being a skeptic, he really relied on our discussion of Newtonian physics as being the best language for describing the different things we see, including Foucault's pendulum. It gives the most elegant, effective explanations of things, and that's all you can say. And of course, and this is the well-known picture of non-Euclidean space on the screen, he was firmly of the view that if creatures turned up from another part of the universe who believed that the universe was indeed non-Euclidean, and we believe that it is Euclidean, there will be no fact of the matter. They will not be necessarily wrong. We will not be necessarily wrong. Our arguments will be that these work best for us, and they would say our way of thinking works best for us. In Poincaré's case, because our knowledge of the external world is hardwired into us through evolution, and through our growing up as infants. You learn the external world before you can be taught anything. It has to be innate, our ability to appreciate the world. But he was not a skeptic about mathematics. Okay, so I mentioned skepticism as a broad view. Poincaré was not a skeptic about mathematics. The ability to reason by recurrence is built into us, and so already we can do certain things that the skeptic would deny, in Poincaré's opinion. And also recall, Poincaré took the view that mathematics and physics are inseparable.